have to have some other things going on. You have to have some faith. You have to absolutely have some support from your family. I says, when you get this job, you need to have something else to do. You have to have some other friends to hang out besides this.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Journey to Freedom podcast. I'm Dr. B. I'm your host today, and just incredibly excited. And I know you guys probably get sick of me after 150 episodes of saying I'm excited about this next guest. But I am. I truly am. I truly love to be able to sit down and talk with individuals, especially, as we started Journey to Freedom, it is a podcast for Black men. And when you get to sit down with Black men who are doing the thing, who are doing what they were put on this earth to do, that are living in purpose, that are excited about being successful or excited about their futures. So many times I can remember, talking to folks and they had no hope. Kevin and I took a group of Black men down to Alabama back at the end of January. And I call it a civil rights victory tour, because we kind of, where we're stuck and we're trying to figure out, okay, where do we come from? And then where do we where are we able to end up and can move forward from right now? And sometimes, I don't know where you're from, but I know in Alabama, I almost feel like I'm still in 1970 when I go there, when I go to Birmingham and I'm sitting down and I ask a waiter, how much are you making, per hour? Are you willing to share with me? And he tells me I'm making $2.15 an hour as a waiter. And I'm like, also, are your checks? I mean, you get a lot of tips. Are you able to make, $1,000 a month or anything? He's like, no, I'm usually under $500 a month. And I'm like, how does somebody survive? Because I know a loaf of bread doesn't cost 25 cents in Alabama anymore, right? I know it's, whatever it is, I think
$3.99.
Yeah, exactly. A gallon of gas isn't 28 cents. It's $3 or $4. Like, how do you get back and forth? And when I think about that, and I go, okay, so I take this group of men because we want to find out, the Bryan Stevenson Museum, and we're going to the Pettus Bridge, and we're at the 16th Street Baptist Church. But more important in that trip is, okay, this is where you're at. Where do you want to be, and how are you going to get there? And so it gets so exciting when, because my life now is resolved around helping people become the person they need to be in order to do the thing that they were put on this earth to do. And I think that's what success is. When I'm trying to define success, it's not about the amount of money that you make or the amount of fame that you have, although those are, good indicators that you're doing pretty good at what you're supposed to do. But it's more about, are you living in that purpose? Are you serving others well? Are you getting up every day excited about the next day coming? Are you a pillar in your community? Are you serving? Those things seem to be so important as to who is successful. And so being able to draw that out and thinking now, for me, podcasting is what I love, what I get up every morning and say, I got to do another podcast today. I'm teaching podcast coaching and that kind of stuff. And then to hear you is doing some of the same things as, having a show and doing, and being able to communicate with others in a way that makes their life better in some way or another is just so cool. And so I've asked Kevin to tell a story like I do all of our guests, so we get to know him a little bit. And then we'll chop it up after of the things that he's doing now and the things that, and how he interacts with his identity and, how that shaped his life. And so thank you for being on. Thank you for being willing to spend a little bit of time with us and talk about the things that you're doing. And the floor is yours, sir.
Dr. B, pleasure. Thank you for allowing me and having me here on the Journey to Freedom, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you're doing and helping people figure out their life's journey. And I think that's so important. I think that you have a incredible job, and kudos to you for doing what you're doing, man. So I definitely appreciate that. So I'll just start off with my story. Definitely my story. A kid from Brooklyn, New York, growing up in the 80s and in the 90s, and two parents. Mom, she worked for the telephone company for 30 years. My old man, he's a retired homicide detective with the NYPD. And so household of me, my brother, and my sister, and I was the middle kid. So, and growing up, I like sports. So, I enjoyed all sports, played all sports, played baseball, hockey, baseball. I said baseball already, basketball, football, um, even on the baseball and football team at my local high school in Brooklyn, man. So I enjoyed it. I loved it. And sports has always been a vehicle for for me, so to speak. Been in the boys and leagues, PAL, things of that nature. And of course, I had a father who was the police, as the kids say. Um, that also too brought some, some structure and some, some things of how it's made me today. And I'm very appreciative of that, of him and my mother and their values of coming up. And some of those things have absolutely instilled in me to this day, their work ethic, how they went about things and how they are still healthy. They're still with us, in their 80s and living amazing and have, they just still have their great health, which I'm very thankful for because they figured it out at a younger age. Hey, to stay around here for a long time, I need to be healthy, make better choices, be fit, be moving around. So I'm appreciative of that, what they have taught me as well, and my other siblings. So, like I said, growing up, it was fun growing up in Brooklyn, and I grew up in like I said, in the '80s and '90s in the crack era up there. Um, Thankful to God that I was able not to be steered in the wrong direction, but yet in the right direction. And I had a lot of people around supporting us. Takes a village. That's definitely true. It does absolutely take a village, and I think it even takes a village even more now the day. So I said all to say this. Like I said, my mother and my father's work ethic, what they taught me, what they instilled in me. Yes, went to church. Mother used to drag me and my baby brother, to church, and some of that stuff has instilled it to me. Faith is definitely very important. So,
Absolutely.
so as I say this, so we do this. I've grown up, and tell you that my old man, he's the police. So guess what happens to me? I'm the police now. So I've
Uh-oh.
been up, I've been I've been a law enforcement for the last 22 years. Um, Not in New York. I moved actually to Charlotte, North Carolina back in 2021. 2021, where I was a correction officer for the sheriff's office in Charlotte. And then I became a sworn deputy sheriff. And then did that for about almost 13, 14 years. And I moved to South Florida, where I'm currently working in South Florida as a detective now. And just when you were saying that, Brian, about people in their journey and how those things work,
Mhm.
and some of the things that you were saying, absolutely, I absolutely been involved in Big Brother, Little Brother, helping kids out back in what year was that? 2009. Me and one of my homeboys who I grew up with in Brooklyn, man, he worked for another agency, and we took 11 kids that never left the county of Mecklenburg up to Washington D.C. on a visit to see all the stuff in D.C. And like I said, some of those kids never ever left the county, and we was able to do that through the PAL program that I was a part of. Excuse me, and it was PAL and another thing. I can't think of it right now, but that was very cool to help them out. And I think two of the kids I absolutely still keep in touch with them to this day. Back in 2009, some unfortunately, we tried to instill some of those good values, but sometimes people fall by the wayside, and it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, fast forwarding back to what I'm doing today, there's been a lot of things about policing in the last, I say, 10 years. Police are not the most well liked people. And just to kind of, one of my co hosts on the show, he always used to say, he said, Kev, you should talk about what you do. I said, nah, I really don't want to intermingle the two. I just don't. I just really don't. I said, professionally wise, I just don't. but he says you should too, because it absolutely humanizes you and lets people know that, you know, there's other sides to you than just being a police officer. Like, you're a dude that loves sports, and not only do you love sports, the podcast is successful. We've been doing this thing since 2018, and it just humanizes you, and I think it does. So guess what my brother does too? He's a cop also.
Oh wow.
So so we have made it the family business, I guess. And like I said, my old man, he's retired. He's been retired for us since the early 90s. And yeah, so I guess that's my story. And like I said, my co-host, shout out to my man Dorian. He always says, he said, I'm so proud of you guys, because like I said, we grew up together. And he says, yeah, you should absolutely sometimes shout that out. And I do. So down here in South Florida, like I said, I'm a detective, and I still do some of those big brother, little brother things. They had like a 500 what's that, 500 kids role model. They just did that last week that I'm a part of. And yeah, man, I'm just, like you said early in your thing, people in the community should be a pillar of the community. Who can you help out? It's just not you just going to the top. It's about helping someone along also. So that's pretty much my story. I'm getting
Oh, I love it. I
I
love
don't, I
it.
don't, I don't know what else to add, but that's just my story with the whole journey and how. And I'll tell you this about the podcasting thing. So the podcasting thing, absolutely, like I said, it was a passion of mine to do. To talk about sports. My co-host, his wife said one day, she said, "You guys argue so much on the phone. Y'all should have a show." I was like, "Wait a minute, Rhonda, that is brilliant." I says, "We're gonna do that." And that's what we did in 2018. I didn't know what we was doing. I just started it, had a laptop, and I had a microphone, I had some headphones, and that's all I knew how to do back in 2018. Thank God for some networking and connecting with people that's pointing me in the right direction, where, you know, we're making some headway in the sports genre of the podcasting land. And I just like it for the fact that podcasting does what? It gives people, other than, how can I say this, more important people, a platform to say something. Which is what I love. I love the content creators on YouTube. You know, yes, it may seem like the wild, wild west, but you know, you got to pick and choose who do you listen to. It's just like anything else. Food, right? You know, either you're going to go to McDonald's every day, or you're going to go to the produce aisle at Publix or whatever supermarket shopping that you go to. So it's a choice. So that's why I love the content creation space. I'm not relegated to just the legacy networks. And there's some people out here in the content creation space who don't have the backings of these bigger media corporations. They're absolutely doing a wonderful job of whatever they're doing, and I watch them, and I absolutely watch them and support them. So
Oh, that's so
that's
cool.
my story, man.
No, thank you for sharing. And I'm gonna ask you a couple questions here, but I definitely want to get back into the podcasting thing, because that's, you know, one of the things I'm doing is coaching podcasting now. I believe
Mm-hmm.
everybody could have a podcast. It is
100%.
it is the new frontier, and you know, I think people believe, well, it used to be like TV and radio, where it had to be who you knew and who you could get with and how much money you had to be able to do it. And there's so much great, incredible content out there,
Yep.
that is, you know, for you guys. Are you guys doing local sports, or are you doing nationwide sports?
Man, we covered it all, man.
I
We
do.
covered it
Okay.
all. We
Nice.
covered it all. I just got off a call with a gentleman in England about collaborating with them doing some soccer stuff. He found
Uh-oh.
us. So
Love it. And do you know a lot about football and the
no,
World Cup?
so one of the things that we do on here that we kind of brainstorm and do is, I don't know everything. No, every sports. So my sports is, I know very much is baseball, football, basketball. I know hockey a little bit, but guess what I did? We did, I should say, excuse me. I got one of my dudes who I used to work with. He's an avid hockey dude, and that's what we call him, the hockey dude. So he joins the show as a hockey dude. So we cover anything. So if I need a soccer person, I got two people who I reach out to for soccer. Um, NASCAR, because I lived in Charlotte for a little bit. I know some people up there that'll, anything how it comes out about NASCAR, I contact them.
Nice.
And sometimes it's just not how can I say, a famous face, somebody who's passionate about it, who really knows what it was, and it gives them what it empowers them to be like, yo, man, I'm the expert too. I'm on somebody's platform talking about something that I know. And that is so fulfilling to people, and to see that in their families, oh, well, yo, they was on that podcast and he was talking. So that's just one of the things that we do. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I'll seek and find who does. And I think that's one of the formulas that's working for us.
I love it. Well, I want to jump backwards a little bit, because your story is one that is not like other folks are. I mean, some folks have pretty similar stories, but what happens is our identity. When we think about identity and who we are and who we believe we are and able to move through, how was you? I mean, exciting that you had two parents, and we have both sides of it, but you came out saying, this, my identity is going to be that of a correct policeman, and then that kind of probably shaped a little bit about who you are, but that something allowed you to move forward in that and be successful at it. Because I know a lot of folks that are police officers have been there a long time, and they don't move up the ranks, they don't move into detective, they don't move, and some that like it, some that don't like it. I know I want to thank you for your service, because it's got to be incredibly hard. I know here in Aurora, Colorado, we had when Chief Metz, black chief that came from Seattle, was our chief of, they hired him as our chief of police. And then he created a group, of like a community group that I was part of, and we got to go. There was like 15 of us that we got to meet with him. But then shortly after he was here, Elijah McClain happens. And so the whole world goes upside down, based on officers that he had nothing to do with hiring, nothing to do with it came on. But of course, now he's the top of the food chain, right? So he's the one that's taken, what did these guys do? So maybe as your identity goes, what has it been like to keep an identity that's strong, as we have a nation that's decided that you guys are the bad guys, which you're absolutely not in many respects.
I think for me, and I can only speak for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
How you keep a identity, I think you have to have something else more to do than just go do the job and that's it. I also teach a wellness class to all the rookies that come in. Okay. And I tell them, I says, when you get this job, you need to have something else to do. You have to have some other friends to hang out besides this. I says, because this can be a lot. And I've always been, I can truly say I've never been the guy. Like if you meet me in the street, you probably will say, hey, that guy's, I've been called man, you look like a hedge fund guy. When I saw somebody, I never thought you was a police officer, because of the way I was dressed. So I was like, I appreciate that, but yeah, I don't want the identity. I think a lot of times, sometimes, some guys, they get consumed with it and get consumed of who they are as a police officer. And me, I treat it as a job, and I love what I do. Sometimes I have some good days, sometimes I don't have some good days. It just depends, and that's just what it is. And it comes with a job. Like you said, it's an incredible job that has a lot of power to it, and the right person has to be able to do the job. And one of the things I teach too, when people come in here who's not about it, who becomes unfaithful to it, it becomes absolutely a problem for the rest of us who's absolutely out here doing the right thing. Yeah. And so to get back to your original question, Dr. B, I just think that you have to have some other things going on. You have to have some faith. You have to absolutely have some support from your family. And, and I think this, and I say this, because I said I teach wellness, right? And you absolutely probably need to go talk to somebody once a week. And I'm not talking about your homeboy either. Somebody professionally, somebody clinically.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm for real, because I've seen a lot of stuff, and I absolutely probably should be somewhere, but I go talk to somebody. I've been through a lot of stuff. I've been in a couple of car accidents that probably could have took my life, things of that nature. And, police officers, they see a lot of stuff, a lot of trauma. And, so I recommend, hey, you should go see somebody.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because there's so many of us that believe we got this. I don't need any help. I don't need, but that's absolutely so far from the truth. Is, God put us on this planet to be in relationship, and He put us in this planet to be a healthy relationship. And when we take that away, and I don't know what like divorce rate is for officers, but I imagine it's pretty high, and probably within the Black families it's probably even higher.
Right.
As a result of what you're saying is not checking your wellness and making sure that you're okay, and having those conversations, because we almost have to distract ourselves sometimes,
Right.
no matter what part, and you're just in that high stress profession that can be very rewarding, but can take a lot away from you. I'm sure at the same time. How did you, because you had your dad as a police officer, and we think about trust and how important it is to trust the people you're around, probably even more so as having a partner or having people that have your back. How did you develop your sense of trust? Do you just automatically trust people because you give them the benefit of the doubt first? Do they have to earn your trust in some way? Is there some kind of combination? How does it work? Who you are?
I think for me, I'm very cynical, so I had to fight against that.
Okay.
I'm just being honest. I absolutely have to fight against that, because like I said, I've seen a lot, and sometimes to see what other human beings do to other human beings, it absolutely takes its toll. So I absolutely have to check myself, make sure I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. And but I still got my eye on you. But
I've got you. I'm looking at you. I'm making sure. Oh my gosh. That is so funny. that you do that, which is important. I mean, because trust is such a big thing that if we don't have that, and we're trying to walk through without, we can't find anybody to trust.
Right.
Oh, it can be a lonely existence. And
yeah.
Has faith played a part? I mean, I think you brought up the word faith, but maybe kind of talk about
faith is absolutely brought it apart. I think you absolutely. So I believe in God, I believe in Jesus. I go to church and all that stuff. Like I said, my mother, she literally used to drag me to church.
Yeah,
Mom, when you see this, I love you, but we was in church. We was in church all the time, man. You know what I'm saying? And but now I absolutely learned, Dr. B. I learned a lot of foundational stuff in church from my pastor at the time. And though you wouldn't think that you was listening or anything like that, it just absolutely carried me to where I'm at now. And you absolutely need to believe that there's someone or something or higher being that can help and sustain you, even when there's nothing around. There's nobody to look to. Who do you pray to? Who do you liken to just come in when nobody else is around? And I think faith is definitely important, and I absolutely do a lot of praying. So
that's so cool. And that is. Do you find that it's being a person of faith, is it easier to be an officer when you have that and there's a higher power than maybe some of your colleagues that don't have that same faith and belief as you go through your daily
unfortunately, I'll just go down to the path of suicide, man. How where like I said, officers see a lot of stuff, man, and they can't handle it, man. And then that's the ultimate thing that they do, which is so unfortunately, and where they could have got some help, but ultimately, man, just God, what can you do to help me out? What's going? How can I can deal with this? And that's just such a thing, man. So I think with Faith, I don't know how they do it. I just I'm
Yeah.
just being honest. It's just because there's sometimes you'll be like, God, and there's sometimes at work, like, man, that's again, your viewers that seeing this, if you haven't really talked to a police officer, go talk to your local police officer, man. Especially that's one that's been on the gig.
Mhm.
And they absolutely have seen a lot. If you would see a lot of stuff, it would do something to you.
Yeah.
And you got to have some inner faith. You got to have something to sustain you. That's my belief. That's my goal. And I'm thankful for what my mother had did when we was younger, of instilling that into us and making sure that we know who what name to call. So
Oh, that's so cool. Well, and I struggle with this stuff. I've seen it. I haven't seen very much, and not and saying, God, you are real. God, I need
right,
you. I
right,
can't
right,
imagine
right, right.
doing your job and not saying, oh, and going, what is this for? What is it? This is all about. One of the things you attributed to your success, is that you have support of your family. Maybe talk a little bit of like how have your family played a part in helping you not only in the success of your job, but the success of all the other things that you do, being able to support you in all the ways they have. Maybe talk about that just a little bit.
I would just say from when we was younger. So my father's side of the family, it's a bunch of us. It's a bunch of
Mhm.
them, and we just basically just made a little community, man, and we just made sure we just supported everybody and anything that they had going on. And that's just what the name of the game was. And support could come in a lot of things. Support can be just showing up. Support could be a phone call. Support could be monetarily or whatever that you need to help. I think the village, the whole village thing.
Mhm.
That's
Takes
I
a
don't
village.
think that's I don't think that's there anymore. To be honest, I think we have gotten away from the village. I think people have absolutely gotten to their own little cocoons, and the village. You don't have to be alone, but I think people are now choosing to be alone. But absolutely attest my success of family and community, and it not so much your family. So it's I call them family. I got people I've been knowing since I've been 6 years old that we're still cool to this day, and they're like family to me, and I'm family to them. Um, and I just think that's just important that you don't have to go through things alone, but sometimes people think they are alone, but you don't have to be alone. But you gotta sometimes do the reaching out too.
Yeah.
That's what I find out with people. They're hesitant to reach out, and if you never know until you do.
Are you married?
Yes,
Okay. What does it mean to you to be? I can tell you're probably an amazing husband, and to
I
have a
try to
wife.
be. I try to be.
You go. You can watch this too, right? Sorry to me. But you know, in your profession and the things that you bring home, and to still care for another human being, and be able to support them, and to be able for them to support you, and to be an example in the community. There's so many in our community who aren't, and we have this. Um, I do a podcast on Sunday nights. It's called Why Love Waits, and the statistic in our community is that 50% of Black women that are over the age of 40 are not married, and out of that, 75% of them have children. And so we've decided as men, somehow, that we don't need to be married, or women have decided that they don't need to be married, and we've taken away the family unit out of our culture. And to me, it doesn't matter, if you have a diverse marriage, but you're married. You are promoting what marriage is, and we've kind of gotten away from that. And part of it is we took men out of families and all the things that have happened through the last 200 years or whatever, 400 years. But for somebody who is married and who is working through it and has a very stressful profession, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what does it mean to support somebody else.
I think that comes with, because like I said, there'll be some days that you won't have good days, and there'll be some days that you have bad days. Your partner just has to understand who you are, what you are, and like really, really gain to know it. I think sometimes, and yes, that's might not what you signed up for, but it's just what it is. And you might need to just get some support and think of other people. So my wife, she probably, I don't know this, but she does a good job of it. But maybe she goes to my mother. She's been married to a police officer for the longest, so almost 50 years.
How
So,
do I do this?
so,
Yeah.
but no, my wife, she's cool. She absolutely does a great job of making sure that I'm not stressed. Um, Anything that needs to be handled, um, she can wait till I get home or whatever. Not so much now. It's a little bit more slower paced, being that I'm a suit now. I'm not in a uniform or anything like that. But when I was in uniform, yeah, sometimes I could be talking or whatever the case may be because I'm dealing with something. But yeah, the aspect of coming home to a person, I think they just got to know. They just got to know when to be, you know, not approachable, but they just got to know. They just got to catch that feeling of what that person is might have been going through. Kind of gauge.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let me see. Did he have a good day, or he or she have a good day? Right? Because there's women that's police officers who do an outstanding job, who absolutely, the other side. The man, they come home to the guy and they're like, how was your day or whatever. Because my world is definitely different than my wife's world, what she does. And I always tell, I say, you live in a different world for your whatever hours you work and my 10 hours that I work. My work could be bedlam, it could be fires. Unfortunately, people laid out in the street, shootings, things of that nature, babies drowning, all the stuff that causes trauma, man. So, but I just think that person just needs to be a really good support, a really good cheerleader, so to speak, and to make sure engage how that person is doing, and if they're not doing well, make sure they get them some help needed. And when I say help, help can come in all types of forms. It can come in some kind of stress reliever thing, or where you go to whatever. There's a couple. I've seen it before. What is it? It's a rage. I don't know if they got them out there, but I've seen them down here in South Florida. They call them rages houses, where you just go in and just tear up stuff. You pay some people to go to this room
Yes.
and take like a sledgehammer and just start just tearing stuff up.
Oh my gosh.
Dr. B, I lie to you not, man. I was like, wow,
You got some really pent up anger in you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
I guess whatever works, whatever it takes.
Whatever works. Oh my gosh. Oh my Lord. Well, I know you talked about Big Brothers and working with the community. Are you a dad as well? Or are you?
No, I'm not a dad. I'm not a dad, but I'm like a dad 2.0, according to my niece,
Okay.
Kennedy. Shout out to my niece Kennedy. That's my brother's daughter.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, she calls me dad 2.0. But I guess I've been doing some dad and uncle things.
Of
I said
course.
ever since I can remember being in church and being part of Big Brothers. And when I was in Charlotte, it was called Right Moves for Youth. That's what I was the name of it. I wanted to give them the right credit.
Okay.
Right Moves for Youth, and making sure that kids are on the right pathway, and it's instilling some good values in them, and instilling simple things as how to tie a tie. I remember the first time my granddad showed me how to tie a tie.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. I'll never forget where I was at. I was in his living room, and he's like, "Hey, boy, come here." So he showed me. So you take the tie, you do it like this, you do it like this. And look, I'm even doing it now with a tie string. I'll never forget it. And it took me three, 4 times to do it, and I finally got. I said, "Look, granddad, I got it." And yeah, some of the fathers are not home in the house, man. But if a person's available, like in those programs, which are very important, that they'll never forget stuff like that. Absolutely. Tying a tie, which to me, I still remember to this day, like I said, where I was at when me and my grandfather was getting ready to go to church. And he showed me how to tie a tie.
Yeah, and there's so many things that, for our youth and for our folks growing up that we used to do because we were in community and we were in proximity.
Yes.
Now we have, if I need to learn how to tie, just look on YouTube, right? And you probably could, but there's one thing of knowledge of knowing things, and there's something about the process of you and your grandfather being able
Yes.
to be in relationship when you did it that YouTube can't teach. Now I'm thankful for YouTube. I mean, obviously we're doing podcasts and we're
Yeah.
making part of
Me
our money
too.
and what
Yeah.
we do
Yeah.
on the internet, but it doesn't substitute for being in community with people. And I think we kind of lost that. I mean, I'm assuming it's made your job harder as an officer as well. Is this what people will say to each other that they would never say to each other on, in the real world? They'll go say it on the internet. They start stuff. When I was a high school teacher, oh my gosh, the stuff that the kids would tell each other things and do
Mm.
things and with the internet, and just the loneliness of wanting to connect but not knowing how to connect. This seems to be
Yes.
so important in the things. Are you finding that there's ways to still connect people without just doing it online, or is this just the world we live in now?
It's very rare, I think, now with, like you said, with community, because people are so attached to the cell phone device and to the technology, and I think it's a gift and a curse of technology. It definitely is, man. And yeah, I think it's harder. Because like I said, I remember. Now you got me thinking. I remember the first tie I tied. I remember my dad showed me how to ride a bike. I remember how he showed me how to tie my shoe, and how he told me, I'll never forget, when I was 5 years old. He said, you can't go outside until you learn how to tie your shoe. I'm tired of tie your shoe. You gotta learn how to tie your shoe. Guess what Kevin did? Learn how to tie his shoe.
Yeah.
So
Now there's just Velcro and slip-ons, right? There's not.
and Crocs. And
Your
Crocs,
Crocs.
Dr. B. That's what the young kids, they be wearing Crocs, which is bad for your feet. Yeah, I got a pair too. I got them on right now. Yes.
Oh yeah, Crocs are from a Colorado company too, so I'm even worse off than. But
Oh
yeah,
man. So yeah.
the kids wear them everywhere. My grandkids all have them. It's just yeah, it's just such a different world that we live in. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's just so important that we continue to talk about relationship. We continue to talk about family as the things you see. I do want to pivot back over to the radio show now. So, or not the radio, the podcast. How did you guys get started in it? I mean, I know you said, hey, your wife said, hey, this would be something that you would be good at. You talking anyways. What?
Actually,
Yeah.
actually, it was my co-host wife. It
Oh, your
was
co-host
my,
wife. Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. She in the background one day with me, D, and my brother Daryl was on there on the phone, and I'm gonna put it the PG way, but she said, y'all be on the phone all day, every day, arguing about this stuff. Why don't y'all start a show? And I was like, I said, D, what? I said, put Rhonda on the phone. She said, y'all should start a show. I said, Rhonda, that's brilliant. I says,
Let's
I
do it.
said, I said, I saw this thing podcasted, and I'll never forget. I was in the not in the present place I'm in now, but I called the guys up. So my brother Daryl, my man Dorian, and my first cousin's son Michael. We came together one Saturday, and we was on this platform, and it was audio. We was just doing audio at the time, and we did it for like 30 minutes, and we sucked, um, because we couldn't really see each other. You know what I'm saying? We really couldn't see each other, but we put it together. We've been consistent doing it, and then you know, like I said, we just kept on doing it. And like I said, when COVID came, that was a real game changer, because we started doing it via Zoom, and then we started getting energy and synergy from one another because we can see one another. It's hard to do that when you don't
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
one another. So you know everybody's cues, you know how they think. And when we started coming on Zoom, then which started where we can start putting it on YouTube or streaming live on YouTube, that was a game changer for us, man. And we've been watching the podcast grow exponentially since 2021. Yeah. And then in 2022, so we was only so get back there. So we was on YouTube, and then we was on what's that, SoundCloud. So
Okay.
SoundCloud pretty much was just only distributed to Apple. And then I got in touch with this. No, I saw this advertisement on Instagram. It was this company called Podetize. So Podetize, I had a talk with the people there. Shout out to my people's um Tracy and Tom Hazard. I talked to them about podcasting and have it syndicated. They say, hey, we can have your stuff expanded, more. And I think that was another like a regeneration of the podcast. And that absolutely helped us out. Where I'm getting some training, getting some knack and know-how. Like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm police 24/7. I don't know podcasting. So as you can see, it doesn't say police, it says podcaster, right? And so we got some knack and know-how from them, and they've been syndicating our stuff since 2022 when we had that initial talk to them, man. So they got us a website. We got a website. We're looking all professional. We're looking all great. And we had some very interesting interviewees on since then, and I'm just excited about the growth of it, man. And I think people sometimes think that this is something you can get in, that you going to get rich right away or whatever. Nah, I says, especially for those that we ain't famous, doesn't work that way. We got to kind of grind a little bit more, and when you do that, I think you appreciate it more. And I'm gonna even appreciate, like I said, I was just on a call just before us, Dr. B, and those people found us. I didn't reach out to them. They happened to was scrolling, and they say, "Hey, we like what you're doing." So your fruits of your labor will absolutely come forth if you keep on putting in the work. I think sometimes people just think, because I get asked a lot of times, it's like, "Yo, man, I want to start a podcast." I say, "All right, cool. Are you willing to do this, that, the other?" Oh, that's what you do?
No.
That's yeah, there's more than besides me just flipping on the camera and getting on the mic. There's all the before and after, the prep work and the after work. I said, we can't pay nobody to do that stuff right now. I
No,
said,
you
but
gotta know
one
what you're
day,
talking about, right? You
yeah,
even have
yeah, yeah, Dr. B, yeah, you gotta know the subjects and all that stuff. I said, this flow that you see, I said, yes, we absolutely have to. We do a post. I mean, excuse me, we a pre-talk before we come on and things of that nature. Yeah, there's a lot of that. So I've absolutely have been asked a couple times, and I just tell people, I says, it ain't for the weak. I said pod fading is real. It's like, what's pod fading? I says, when we don't hear from you no more, that's what pod fading is.
9 episodes, you're gone.
Gone.
You have faded out the picture.
I said that. I said 1%. Yeah, Dr. B, I don't know about you, but I don't have no producers yet. Well, I have one, my man D, his son, but he'll be back with us. Shout out to Dorian Jr. But I don't have a machine behind me that to get the mic prepped, to do the lighting and all that stuff. As you can see, I had to get my own light for today because my space is getting.
Yeah, I mean, if you're starting a pod, I believe everybody should start a podcast because it would allow you to to become. But if you're getting into it because you're ready to make money at it, you're getting in it for the wrong reasons. You got to get into it because of the love of what it is that you're talking about and what you're doing, and then it has the ability to create you some income, depending on how much better you get at it, and that's up to you. Is how much time you're going to spend on it and how good you're going to get at. Because in many cases you got to solve a problem that somebody else has.
Yes.
If you just get in there and talk about yourself, you can forget it. If you're trying to be interesting, then forget it. You need to be interested where you need to be interested in what other people want. And then it might be something you want too. And then you talk about it because people are interested in sports, right? But if you just get up there because you want to just talk about yourself, and you want to, hey, I want to tell you that I got up this morning and I cooked myself some breakfast and
I don't care about that stuff, Dr. B. Now they might during the sports story, and we do that often with us. there might be some correlating thing where it's funny and it goes along with it. Yes, absolutely. But nobody cares that I had a Chick-fil-A biscuit this morning. They don't care.
No.
They might care if it's somebody famous on ESPN or whatever the case may be, but they don't care about me. And I love that you said that. For all you podcasts out there, you got to be whatever your genre is. You got to be there to solve somebody's problem. That's what you're there for. I learned that not in year 1, not 2, 3, probably year 4. I said, "Oh, okay, I got you."
Yeah. It is. I mean, that's what business is all about, right? If you get good at that, then you'll be monetized. If you're just getting in there to just talk, just be. And I'm not. When you get started, Kevin even said this: we all suck because we haven't done this before. It's something we don't know how to do. You have to go through, and if you only do 10 episodes, if you're going to start the podcast, you have to just say to yourself, "I'm going to do this amount." I would, 20 to 25 episodes before you can ever evaluate whether it's something you want to continue doing, like even doing more, because you're not going to be good at first, and you're not going to be instant success, and you're not going to have all these listeners that are going to just immediately jump to. You might have 10 people. You might just be your mom and your grandpa and whoever else might listen to your show at first. But there is so much reward in you getting to be a better person. I mean, you started in 2018. You guys are still going. You guys probably love each other more. You have a camaraderie. You all these things. Mm-hmm. What would you say the biggest evolution of your podcast has been from? One, I guess you went into video, but beyond just moving from sound to video, audio to video, what are some of the other evolutions as we're really kind of helping people right now think about
podcasting? I think around the like I said, around the 2022 time when we got with Poditize and really understood the business aspect. Those folks at Poditize, like I said, Tracy and Tom Hazard, they absolutely taught me the business on how this works. For all those out there, you understand SEO, keyword search, all that stuff matters if you want to get discovered. Because, like I said, you ain't famous, and like you said, Dr. B, you got to help solve a problem, and it's up to you as the podcaster to make sure that you solve that problem. But to get back to your original point, I think that was the turning thing, because like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't know. I thought I was doing so. Yo, we on Apple, because I was shouting it out. And also, yo, we on Apple. Okay, you on Apple, and what else? And now, thankful to them, man, we're on Apple, Sirius, we're on iHeart, all the major platforms. I can proudly say that today. And that gives you more reach, that gives you more visibility, and gets you where people can absolutely come find you. But I was just happy that we was on Apple and SoundCloud back in 2018.
I got to ask you this, because it's one of the things that I talk about a lot is personal development and becoming that person and being able to work on myself and work on, I look at education and entertainment, and I got to spend this much time in my life, educating me, learning how to speak, a better vocabulary. What are some of the things that you've worked on since 2018 that have made you better at your craft of being a podcast host?
I'm not gonna lie. So some of the things that my policing space has granted me the ability to speak, public speaking. So I was sent to go to instructor school. I could do a little public speaking or whatever before. Like I said, the church that my mother used to drag us to, we used to have to get up and give scripture showers and kind of give a sermon ourselves. So I was no stranger to public speaking. So that never really made me afraid of anything. But I think the instructor, being an instructor, that absolutely helped me out, because I'm teaching people, I'm talking to people, and though I didn't sign up for it, so to speak, that absolutely has helped me tremendously on the podcasting thing. And even if you're not a good speaker, so to speak. There's places where you can go get, public speaking, things of that nature. And I'm always reading books on how to better myself. And it's funny you said that. I'm just reading this book. I forgot the gentleman's name. But it's talking about emotional intelligence and how God, I can't forget the name, but it's a phenomenal book. And emotional intelligence, it absolutely helps you out to keep your emotion in check and how to articulate stuff when you're upset, right?
Yeah. Emotions high, intelligence low.
Yeah.
High, emotions low. Yes, it does.
The guy's basic book was basically showing you how to cuss people out and in a way where you can get your point across, but you can do it in an intelligent manner.
Yeah.
And not come off as, you're the angry black man, or, sometimes I've been called the angry New Yorker. And that's fine or whatever. But I absolutely, and I know that I needed that. I absolutely know that I needed this. So I said, let me just go get this book. And I'm an avid reader. I like to read self-help, get better books and those things. So yeah, I think that absolutely helped me.
Oh, yep. Good. Yeah, one of the things that I can say with your prep and everything that you guys have to do before your show, it's not like the barbershop where you can just go make up a whole bunch of facts and then argue about the stuff you just made up. Maybe because people are probably checking you on it and that kind of stuff. One of the things that I tend to talk about a lot is if you are in a space where you're not creating the success that you have, maybe some of the things, maybe if you're like a sports fanatic, like you guys have to be in order to do your podcast, maybe you should cut down on some of it and work on yourself. What would you say, or at least have a balance where I know, I tell people sometimes that I'm talking to, more about LeBron or more about Michael Jordan or more about Patrick Mahomes than about what your kids are doing or what's going on in your community. What would you say to that? I mean, because I enjoy entertainment but I think some people have it as a distraction sometimes to take away from their lives. And I could see where, I like I said, I love athletics. I was an athlete and, I competed at a super high level. But at the same time, sometimes I think it takes away from people's lives. Do you have any thoughts on that? Or is it?
When you say take away from people's lives, meaning that they're just not focused on any other stuff of their life?
Yeah. So I'll have people that say, that they'll say that my marriage is bad. I'm not making any money. I wish my life could be better. I would have more success. But then they'll tell you everything that happened in all the basketball games, all the things that happen in all the football games. They'll tell you all the things that, are happening when they're sitting at the bar and their life's falling apart.
I got you now, Dr. B. All right. So let me go at this. There's such a thing in life called balance, man. You got to have balance, man. So if your marriage is jacked up and you're not trying to get better, but the score of the Denver Nuggets game, shame on you. And not knowing what's going on with your wife or what's going on with your man or your husband. Yes, I say it all the time. Work-life balance life, whatever it is. Because it can go the other way around too. Like, okay, you so enthralled with the marriage and stuff like that, you don't see anything else.
Yeah.
So it you need a happy medium and an absolutely, I try to pride myself on that. If I'm getting to this, to that, I want to make sure I'm having some kind of medium and some balance when it comes to that. So you can't know what Jokic got last night, and the baby somewhere, your wife is mad at you. No, you can't. You mad because Murray only got 20 minutes of playing and he not passing the ball to Jokic. That's dumb. That's just not good.
Yeah. If the game's 2.5 hours, then watch your show and then you'll learn it all. You don't have to watch the whole game. You can
right.
What didn't we talk about that you want to make sure? I mean, I want to know how to get to your podcast. I want to know how to get to your website and stuff. But what did we not talk about that you wanted to make sure that we talked about today?
I think we talked about everything that I want. That we said that we was going to do, and this was very, very interesting. But for all those, we're on all social media platforms, from Twitter, well, excuse me, X, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we're on it. TikTok, sportschaserspodcast.net. That's the name of the website is sportschaserspodcast.net. You just give us a look on there. You'll have all our nice smiley bios on there. Also, you can see our content on there. You can see some blog posts. Also, make sure you subscribe. You can get a newsletter every week. You know what I'm saying? So we give you some value with that. And yeah, that's how you can find us. We just 6 guys on there. We talk about sports. We have passion for sports. And if you really want to know some sports without all the other stuff and all the hot takes, come holler at the Sports Chasers podcast. And we'll be happy to have you aboard, man. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'm sure I can't wait to go watch it and get my sports fix in a quicker amount of time, and then we can talk about the Broncos or I guess my roommate in college played for Kansas City. His name was Christian Okoye, so he played.
Really? Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
He was my roommate in college, and so we get to talk a lot. So I have probably more conversations about the Chiefs than I do about the Broncos at this point. But he's a godfather of my kids and stuff. But it's just been amazing to be part of the sports world that I can. I coach track, I do stuff, and around the city and the town with youth. But at the same time, like you said, that work-life balance that allows us to do. And so I appreciate you coming on to this show and showing us what it looks like to be successful, not only in what you do for a career, but being successful in your life as well, successful in your relationships, successful in your podcast. It takes work. And it's evident that you've been willing to spend the time and the work to make it happen. And so it's been a blessing for me to be able to have you on the show. Thank you so much. Same thing that he's saying, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, the notification button, and the thumbs up and all those things. If you're looking for some really cool content of folks that are doing stuff that are in your community, in many cases that look like you, that have showed you the way they're doing. If you want to get into podcasts, you can contact either of us, and we'll kind of show you what the ropes are that you have to do. But be willing to put in some work, my friend.
Work. It's not for the faint of heart.
It is definitely not from the faint of heart, but it is so rewarding and something that you will probably enjoy doing. So don't forget your God's greatest gift. He loves you if you allow him to. We'll look forward to talking to you in the next one. Have an amazing, awesome, just incredible day today. We'll talk to you soon.